This is the story of the MPLA, the FNLA, and UNITA, the rivals who fought for the soul of a nation. The year is 1974. In Portugal, the Carnation Revolution has just overthrown a decades-old dictatorship. For its overseas colonies, including Angola, this was the moment they had been waiting for. The promise of independence was finally on the horizon. But instead of unity, this new dawn triggered a power struggle that would plunge Angola into a devastating civil war lasting nearly 3 decades. So, who were these three groups, and what drove them to turn on each other? Let's start with the MPLA, the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola. Founded in 1956, the MPLA was primarily an urban, intellectual movement with strong ties to mixed-race Angolans and the Mbundu people around the capital, Luanda. Led by the charismatic poet and doctor, Agostinho Neto, the MPLA adopted a Marxist-Leninist ideology. Their vision was for a socialist, non-aligned Angola. Because of their leftist leanings, they naturally found powerful allies in the Soviet Union and Cuba, who provided crucial military aid, advisors, and eventually, combat troops. Next up is the FNLA, the National Front for the Liberation of Angola. Emerging in the late 1950s, the FNLA had its roots in the Bakongo ethnic group of northern Angola. Their leader, Holden Roberto, was well connected internationally, particularly in the West. The FNLA was staunchly anti-communist, which made them a natural partner for the United States and its allies during the Cold War. They also received significant support from Mobutu Sese Seko, the ruler of neighboring Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo. Their ideology was less defined than the MPLA's, focusing more on a pro-Western, capitalist path for Angola. Finally, we have UNITA, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola. UNITA was the last of the three major groups to form, breaking away from the FNLA in 1966. Its founder and lifelong leader was the enigmatic Jonas Savimbi. UNITA's power base was among the Mbundu people, the largest ethnic group in Angola, concentrated in the Central Highlands. Savimbi initially espoused a form of Maoist ideology, appealing to the rural peasantry. However, as the Cold War intensified, UNITA, like the FNLA, became a key recipient of Western and South African support due to its fierce opposition to the communist MPLA. So you have three movements: the Soviet-backed, Marxist MPLA, the US-backed, anti-communist FNLA, and the adaptable, also anti-communist UNITA, backed by the US and apartheid South Africa. The stage was set for a proxy war on a grand scale. Even before Portugal officially withdrew, the rivalries were boiling over. The Alva Agreement, signed in January 1975 by all three groups in Portugal, was supposed to create a transitional government and pave the way for peaceful elections. It was a failure from the start. None of the groups trusted each other. Skirmishes quickly escalated into full-blown battles for control of key cities and resources. The FNLA, backed by Zairean troops, marched on Luanda from the north. UNITA, supported by South African forces, advanced from the south. But the MPLA, with a massive influx of Cuban soldiers and Soviet weaponry, held the capital. On November 11, 1975, the day Portugal officially granted independence, Agostinho Neto of the MPLA declared the People's Republic of Angola in Luanda. The civil war had officially begun. The first phase of the war saw the MPLA, with its powerful international backing, gain the upper hand. They successfully repelled the FNLA and South African UNITA invasion, securing control of the government and major cities. The FNLA, after its disastrous defeat, largely faded into irrelevance as a military force. But UNITA was far from finished. Under Savimbi's leadership, they retreated into the vast Angolan interior and waged a long and brutal guerrilla war against the MPLA government. This is where the Cold War dynamics became starkly clear. The conflict was no longer just an internal Angolan affair. It was a global battlefield. Cuba sent tens of thousands of troops to prop up the MPLA government. The Soviet Union poured in billions of dollars worth of military hardware. On the other side, the United States, through the CIA, funneled aid to UNITA, viewing them as a crucial bulwark against Soviet expansion in Africa. Apartheid South Africa, fearing a hostile Marxist state on its border, became UNITA's most important military ally, launching frequent invasions into southern Angola. The Angolan people were caught in the middle of this catastrophic proxy war. The country, rich in oil and diamonds, saw its resources plundered to finance the fighting. Millions were displaced, infrastructure was destroyed, and hundreds of thousands lost their lives, not just from the fighting but from the famine and disease that followed. The rivalry between these movements, fueled by ethnic divisions and amplified by foreign intervention, had unleashed a human tragedy of immense proportions. As the Cold War began to thaw in the late 1980s, so too did the international appetite for the Angolan conflict. A series of negotiations led to the Bices Accords in 1991, which called for a ceasefire and multi-party elections. For a moment, there was a glimmer of hope. The elections were held in 1992. The MPLA won a majority, but not enough to avoid a runoff against Savimbi's UNITA. Instead of accepting the results, Savimbi rejected them, claiming fraud. He pulled UNITA out of the newly formed National Army and returned to war. This next phase of the conflict was perhaps the most destructive, a period known as the War of the Cities. UNITA seized control of large parts of the country, and the fighting reached an unprecedented level of brutality. The international community, which had largely withdrawn, was shocked back into attention. The war would drag on for another decade. The tide finally turned for good in the early 2000s. After years of relentless pursuit by the Angolan armed forces, Jonas Savimbi, the man who had embodied UNITA for over 35 years, was killed in combat in February 2002. Without their charismatic and uncompromising leader, UNITA quickly crumbled. A ceasefire was signed just 6 weeks later, finally bringing an end to 27 years of civil war. Today, the MPLA remains the ruling party in Angola. UNITA has transformed into the main opposition political party. The FNLA exists, but as a much smaller political entity. The legacies of their rivalry are everywhere, in the country's political landscape, its social fabric, and the unexploded landmines that still litter the countryside. The story of Angola's liberation is a powerful reminder that the fight for freedom is often just the beginning of a much longer, more complicated struggle for peace and national identity. Thank you for watching. If you found this history interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into world history. See you in the next one.